Hi guys, welcome to Making Sawdust. I'm Kevin. Thank you for joining me. Today we are going to make a platform for my Craftsman Contractor 113 series saw. We are also going to adjust and tune up the table saw wings. And if we have a little bit of time, one more safety related super tip and modification for these saws. Welcome back. I'm sure many of you folks know that this is the basement of my house, and this is a dirt foundation. Many of my videos illustrate what it was like in this basement and what I've done so far, so go back and see some of those changes. Similar in construction to my benches and my other fixtures here, I will be using the earth as a major component in this space. I will excavate enough dirt, I will frame in some 2x material and anchor to the earth with some 12-inch spikes. This will prevent any shifting in the platform. Also provide a great starting point if I ever get ambitious enough to continue the flooring throughout this upper area. The framing will also be backfilled, packed, and attached with 3/4-inch plywood. This material is actually the top of my old workbench that can be seen in many of my early videos. Now that I have the saw moved back into position, we can level our saw using the adjusting feet. For us cellar dwellers, soil maintenance and preparation is really important. Proper chip maintenance and collection and application to your soil layer is greatly beneficial to the overall performance of your woodshop. This is a pretty straightforward operation. Leveling feet on this Craftsman saws have 3 pieces. 2 of those are the nuts, and the other being the foot. To level the saw, I threw away my torpedo level and went with my old trusty Stanley. I added 2 additional flat washers on each foot, and that was just going to help stabilize that foot and spread that load a little bit. The goal here, of course, is to be level, but you want to make sure each leg of the saw has equal weight distribution, so adjust your feet accordingly. In my case, I had to adjust the back of the saw about an 1/8 inch up. And then from side to side, it is surprisingly dead on. So now on to the top of the saw. This top cast iron surface is ground or machined flat, probably not ground to a very high tolerance, and you can still see machining marks. We're going to trust this top surface is true. What we need to do is make sure that each one of these wings is also true with the top of this saw. In my case, this wing is a little high of this back corner of the saw. And as we feel down, it kind of dips down and just continues to dip down. Okay, so, and we're not talking about, maybe just about 10 thousandths. In a macro sense, if you have a piece of material going through your saw and this table or this wing is elevated or turned or in some way not oriented properly with the top of this saw, your material is going to cut differently. Okay, this 90-degree true angle is actually not going to be 90-degree. That's going to be really exaggerated. Let's say if you're using a miter sled and you're cutting on a 30 or a 45-degree angle, if your material is riding on these wings and one of these wings is up or down or something misaligned, that is really going to exaggerate the mistake in your cut. In my case, I have 4 bolts that hold my wings on. This left wing is kind of free floating. I don't have fence rails that extend all the way and support these wings. If you have a stamped steel wing, you'll probably have some sort of support out here. On this side, I also have my fence rails that are attached to the end of this wing. So I've switched from my Stanley 4-foot level to using a 24-inch straight edge. And we can tell that the top is actually not dead flat. I have about, maybe a 10 thousandths gap right there. And that's pretty much along the rest of the table too. So these are not surface ground to any crazy tight tolerance. So note that depending on your saw. Now that I have all my fasteners loose on my wings, I use a clamp. So a clamp with a relatively flat face, and use the clamp to bring the wing up to the top of the saw surface. Getting it really close to the top surface with a clamp allows you to snug up your fastener just enough, and then you could come back in and do some fine tuning with a dead blow hammer. Once I have all of my fasteners loose, I'll start with one end of the wing and snug it up pretty good. Tiny little tap of the dead blow will get you really close once you're snug. Then you can come through with your middle fasteners and get those tight. And as long as your table saw wing is flat, you're not going to have a bow down in the center. Onto this other wing, the right-hand side wing, we have a little bit of a problem. This wing has a dip to it. I snugged up this backside fastener, nice and level right here. Snugged it up really good. And when I come around to the back side, level this up, we have a dip of about 30 thousandths of an inch right here. So this will be a little bit of a challenge, and I may get some arguments on this point. I believe that we'll be able to flex this wing back flat when we strategically tighten these fasteners, and I'll show you how I do that. Some may say that I am actually going to be flexing this table down like this, and that may actually be true in a sense. We are dead flat on this table here. When we attach this wing in a sequential fashion, basically, I have this back one snug. I'm going to lift this wing up until I'm flush right here, tighten this fastener really good, move up to this fastener. I'll actually have to lower that wing, and we're flexing that wing back into position. It's also going to put some force onto this table, but I don't think this table is weak enough to create a bow. I think this wing is actually a lot weaker, so we'll be able to straighten this back out. This is almost flush right here, actually. Very light tap on that. It'll stay right there. So now we're relatively flush all the way. Still a tiny little dip right there, but that's acceptable. But now this back corner is actually up. And this is where your clamp can become very advantageous to you. Yep, perfect. As long as I can get my wrench on the back side. Now what we can do is adjust our wing so it is in the same plane as our table. It benefits us having these fence rails on here. Your saw may have a full fence rail that goes along the whole front and back of the saw, and that would allow you to adjust your other wing. In this case, I'm probably 30 thousandths low right here. So our fasteners on the corner here can be adjusted, and that wing will help support our fence rail, keep our fence rail straight, and vice versa. Now that we have our platform built, we have our saw level, we have the wings adjusted true to our saw, we are going to move this switch. It is actually in a very unsafe location. It's not a bad design by Craftsman. No, saw's unplugged. You have a nice little rocker switch. I'm right-handed. When you're done with your cut, you smack the switch. It works out actually pretty good. But what if you're in the middle of a cut and something happens? Let's say you hit a knot. Maybe something dislodges, starts to wedge the blade. Maybe there's stress in the material, it starts to bind the blade. Well, you really don't want to pull your hand off of that material, even if it's supported on the other side, and smack the switch. You've lost control of your material. Very unsafe. There is an option, and I have been doing it, but it's a little far away from me, and depending on where the fence is adjusted at, if I run into a problem and I'm using the saw and I'm in mid-cut, I can smack it with my knee, but actually, you see what happens. My leg hits. It's hard to do that. So if I move this switch almost right directly in front of me, where there's no obstruction, my fence is rarely going to be that close. And even if it was, the switch is right here, I'm operating the saw like this, I can still easily hit that switch and we'll turn it off. Not going to be the easiest thing in the world, is it? Saw's unplugged, so it's on. I'm making that cut. I can easily turn that saw off. So thank you for joining me here today, guys. We have our table saw platform built. We have the saw leveled. We also have the wings adjusted. We had a little challenge on this wing. It had a little bit of a warp to it. It is really, really good now. So if you take anything away from this video, my super tip is accuracy. If you start your project with accurate cuts, as accurate as you can get, the rest of your project is going to go a little more flawlessly. Okay, you're not going to have tolerance stack up, mistakes stack up, and things are going to fit if you're working off a set of plans. So where I start my project usually is the table saw. I'm in a basement. Most of my stock comes in shorter than 8-foot lengths. It's my table saw, sometimes my miter saw. If I can maintain a very accurate cut here, the rest of my project is going to go really, really good. I'm not a master craftsman by any means. And if you are anything like me and you like classic Craftsman tools, you like some beginner projects too, you may live in a very small shop, have a unique space like I do, stick around. If you're at this end of this video, go ahead and click subscribe. Give me a like. Give me some comments. And for those of you still sticking around, check out these coffee cups I made. I didn't know if you guys knew that I do have another channel. It's called Hope This Works. And that's my crazy dude, the logo of that channel. Billy Joe and I do a little bit of gardening, a little bit of cooking. We have a cute dog. So if you want to stop over there and give that a like and a share and a subscribe. I also have Makin Sawdust cups with my mantra. Use what you got, not what you ain't. These are available on my website right now. They are sourced locally, so they're sourced locally, so support small business. They are not made in another country. They're made right here in the great state of Wyoming. I support my small business, and if you want to support my small business, the link is in the description, folks. I want you guys having a great day. Get outside, make some sawdust. Make sure to stick around as we tune up my old saw with some fence alignment, a trunnion adjustment, and maybe in the next video we'll do some cool upgrades like a link belt for vibration and noise suppression, as well as some dust collection.